Glass and lemon Easter.
Okay, now I have to give some preempting here for both Kim and I, because we both are like, we're here for you. We're here for you for tea time.
But we can't hold you responsible for anything either of you say.
Cannot hold us responsible for anything we say, for
Yeah.
how we look.
Yeah.
It's just, we had BoucherCon, as I talked about last week, and my internet, because I'm not allowed in the office, so my internet might go funny on us. So if it goes in and out, just yeah. But we had BoucherCon this weekend, or this weekend, I shouldn't say. It was like a week. It was 6 days. I tapped out on Friday. I did Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Had to tap out on Friday, came home and thought a Mack truck had hit me. I have never been so sick in my life. Yeah, it was something else. Kim was there for one day, got COVID in one day. That shows you what petri dish we were sitting in.
Yes.
But aside from that, I mean, 600 authors descended on San Diego, probably more than 600 actually, because I think there were 600 that were on panels, and there was a lot of them that were roaming around that weren't on panels. And it was incredible. So it was glad to have been a part of it. Great mystery writers, really gracious and wonderful authors. So, but yeah, if Kim or I are a little slow today, but it's late.
Or if you live, or if you're friends with or live near one of those mystery writers, they're probably feeling some of the same things.
I don't know how everybody's not sick from it, honestly. Yeah. I honest to God don't know how everybody's not sick from it. It was a gigantic, and shame on us. It's like I was not taking the masking thing. I was just like, it was kind of like it wasn't even suggested there, but just kind of in the news and everything. It was just kind of out there again.
Julie, it was so loud that even people with masks on had to pull them down to scream at us. No, really.
It's controlled chaos.
I'm so sorry.
Anyways, but yeah, so it was really great. So Ann Cleves, if you've never read Ann Cleves, read her for only one reason, is that she's a lovely human being. She's a lovely writer too. Yep. Jacqueline Winspear was there. Jacqueline, a lovely human being.
She's a sweetheart. Yeah.
She's a sweetheart. I mean, I could go on to like 400 of them, but S.A. Cosby, I mean, all of them. Yeah. So any of those authors, support them because they were awesome.
Yeah, all the authors were so nice.
They were so great. Okay. There was somebody that this is not, and I'll see if I can pull it up later, because there's an author that I don't think is on anybody's radar, but if you're into, she writes, I think, about Switzerland, and she writes this Swiss, she's got 2 books. First one's called, I'll look it up because my brain's a little fogged, but I'll talk about it after you guys are done with your first round, and I'll talk about it because it was the talk of BoucherCon. So cool. I want to tell you guys that one. So anyways, let's start with, it's going to go Tom, Kim, and Gabe. And so you guys, and I'm tech again today. So if I look funny and so it's going to be.
No comments, Gabe. No comments.
No comments today. Zip, be nice to me. Anyway, so I'll be doing the tech as best as I can too. So there you go.
All right. Should I jump in?
You can go.
Okay. So fraud. The book is called The Fraud. Zadie Smith's The Fraud, but the fall is now here, like officially book wise. Till tomorrow, Zadie Smith's The Fraud. So for me, that really, I felt like the James McBride for us began the fall in a way, because that's going to carry through. But really, the books that are coming out starting tomorrow are going to be the big fall books. So The Fraud by Zadie Smith. It's her first novel in, I think, 7 years. Last one was Swing Time. But in the meantime, which was a finalist for the National Book Critics Circle Award. It was longlisted for the Booker. And then in the meantime, she did an incredible book called Intimations during the pandemic. That was a paperback original that was helping to understand what we were all going through, as only Zadie Smith could do. It was incredible. So she's been really busy, but she hasn't had a novel. So really exciting. And also what's new is that it's historical. She's never written a historical novel. I mean, she's made London, certain parts of London, especially her territory. And that's still the case here, but she's taking us back to 1873 And it's based on a real life trial, the Tichborne trial, which at the time was a huge, I'd never heard of it, but it was a huge, like, you know, O.J. Simpson type big deal that everyone and certainly in England was paying attention to. And it had to do with, there was a landowner, Tichborne, I think was yeah, I think so, was lost at sea. And so he had this property that a man comes from Australia to say he's the rightful heir to this property. Although there's not a lot to support that. Came this sort of cause célèbre where people were supporting this character who was coming to claim the property. The main witness and the centerpiece of the book in a way is a man who was enslaved in Jamaica. So that's how she brings in the history of colonialism into the story. And he's there also to defend this character who's making the claim. So it's all about authenticity versus fraudulence, which has always been a subject of her work. And she manages to, like the LA Times today in its review talked about how even though it's historical, it's really contemporary in its themes. I mean, you might see in the sort of the way the mob supports comes to this trial, there are echoes of what we've seen over the last few years of mobs doing certain things in this country. This is not heavy-handed, but you might make that leap. So it's filled. So there's that. So there's the trial, and then there's the other main character is a woman who is the caretaker of a failed novelist, actually a very successful novelist, but he's a contemporary of Charles Dickens. So he's always in Charles Dickens, he's always, raging against Dickens. So this woman, this character, she is the entry point to the trial. So it's a complicated, beautiful novel from Zadie Smith that, it's already getting incredible reviews. The New York Times says, as always, it's a pleasure to be in Zadie Smith's mind, which as time goes on is becoming contiguous with London itself. Dickens may be dead, but Smith thankfully is alive. So it's a really great read. It's also very readable, short chapters, kind of like, like Dickens would keep you, there'd be a cliffhanger at the end of a chapter, same thing here. And then I highly recommend Zadie's piece in the New Yorker called On Killing Charles Dickens, because it's about how she really did not intend to write a historical novel in the shadow of Dickens, and yet everywhere she turned, there he was, whether it was turning on TV, an adaptation of Dickens, or in the history of this case itself, there he was. So if you love Zadie, if you've never read Zadie, this is a great entry point, I think. Or if you love Dickens historical, on sale tomorrow, Zadie Smith's The Fraud.
All right. Beth Doherty's on here. She said there was a cool trailer that was done.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Oh, I'll look for that.
Yeah, look for the trailer. She said the trailer was really cool. I'm not tech. If Amanda was here, which by the way, somebody was asking about Amanda, did she make it out of Burning Man? I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure she's okay, but where is she?
Well, I think she might still be in Burning Man. Okay, because I texted her this morning. Yeah. And you know how Burning Man, the whole thing is like, leave your cell phones, don't connect, disconnect and like be a part of this thing. It's like, but now we need to know if you're okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if she got out. So I'm assuming she did, or she's getting out today or tomorrow. So because it's I guess just a mess. But Beth Johnson on here too she's looking forward to it. She's going to read this one with others. I'm surprised how long her ratings on Goodreads are. How interesting how low her ratings are on Goodreads.
Oh, that's
is that because her tough messages? Glad she's good. Here's the deal with Goodreads.
That doesn't mean anything.
No.
Yeah, right.
It's like a positive.
Almost, because that's what bugs me about Goodreads, because you have these wonderful authors.
Yeah. Who
perhaps, I got to be careful how I say this.
Want me to say it?
Or don't be careful, Julie. Why start now?
Because I think Oh, Liz Campfield found the trailer, so she put it on Facebook for us. Thanks,
Oh,
Liz.
Nice.
Some people maybe don't get her
Yeah,
and give it low ratings, which that
Right.
doesn't necessarily, you know what I mean? I'm trying to be as tactful as I can.
yeah. And I think what Kim said is true. It really doesn't mean anything.
They
Like,
really
It
don't.
doesn't mean anything. Some of my favorite books of all time have low Goodreads ratings.
Yeah, but the problem that I have with it is for the average consumer, they need a guide, and they need a guide to, obviously y'all come to independent bookstores, so that's your guide. But for the other masses out there, I mean, I'm in a book club where, we don't have a local bookstore next to us. So it's just like they rely on me and other things. But so anyways, yeah, Zadie Smith.
That's why we have tea time.
That's right. And I feel like Zadie, she's wrestling with a lot of difficult stuff in each of her books. So they're not going to be books that every reader is going to come to and 5 stars immediately.
Right.
I mean,
I had a woman that was not really a friend. Our daughters played sports together. This is when I first started working at Barnes and Noble, and I recommended, oh God, it's the Colin McCann.
Oh, Old God's Time.
No, not Old Gods. The one.
World, Turning World.
Yes. As the world, not as the world turns. That's a soap opera.
I know, we all know the book. But
We all know the book. So anyway, so I recommended the book. She came back like 2 days later and said, "This was the worst." I was like, "Oh, we are not friends. We're never going to be able to talk books again. You need to go." Like,
that was one of my all-time favorite books. Seriously,
of all time.
Let the great world
Let
spin.
the great world spin. Let the great world spin. It is just a phenomenal book. And literally I turned around and I was like, oh, I'm like never.
We have nothing in common.
We have nothing to talk. So that to me is what Goodreads kind of is. It's like this whole amalgamation of just like so many different people. So okay, before I pass out, Kim, you better go.
Okay, same. Okay, okay, first of all, Tom, I cannot wait to read the Zadie Smith book, and I just finished a book last night, and I'm starting Zadie Smith today.
Oh, excellent.
I'm so excited about it. It's been getting such great reviews. But my book today, you already did.
Oh, but another of my very favorites.
Okay, I actually have to listen to it, which is not a bad thing. It's fabulously narrated by the author. But it's because we're sold out at Warwick's.
Don't say that.
So, well, we were last week, so it probably changed.
But like Tom didn't warn you.
I guess.
Is that the McBride? I was away for a minute. Is that the McBride book?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? We're gonna take a little bit of break there and just like give it to we just ordered books for 400 authors. So.
True.
Oh no, I'm sure they came in the next day. I mean, we get books every day, but I mean, in this book, I mean, we got a ton of them, but it's like everyone who comes in the store is buying it. It's not our fault. Yeah. And of course, he won the National Book Award for The Good Lord in 2013, and I had never read him before, and I wasn't going to, and then Mary Allen told me, Kim, it's so good. And when Mary tells me that, I immediately I'm like, okay. And oh my God, it's so good. I am loving it. I mean, just loving it. And seriously, it's great to read. It's also really great to listen to. And it just, I know you already know this, but it begins in 1972 when a skeleton and a mezuzah are found at a construction site in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. And then it switches back to the 1920s and 30s sort of Depression era to the Chicken Hill neighborhood of that town where Jews and Blacks shared a community. And there's like just a host of super memorable characters, including Moshe and Shona, who run a theater and a grocery store, mixed race. And they end up hiding or trying to hide a deaf Black boy. They're trying to hide him because the state is trying to institutionalize him. And some other characters try to help them. And the book is just colorful characters, a multitude of storylines. It's just like a bigger than life book. And it explores race, xenophobia, disability, with just prose, nuanced depth, but also a ton of humor. It's just an extraordinary book. It's full of love and wisdom. It's charming, it's uplifting, and it's just heartwarming, despite the very serious topics and all this stuff that happens. It's just a joy. I mean, I can't stop listening to it.
It's great. I'm so glad, because I agree with everything you said. I love James. Like, I almost reading it made me want to know, like, I wish Toni Morrison could read it, and I want to know what Toni Morrison, as I feel like there was something about it that was so, he's a great American novelist.
He totally is. He totally is. Like, it's
and
just
I had resisted him for years, even though I was selling his books, but I wasn't necessarily reading all of them until Deacon King Kong, and then I fell in love, and now I'm going to go back and read all of his books. But
oh no, I missed Deacon King Kong, and that was a mistake. I mean, what a generous, I would describe him as the most generous writer. I don't know why that word, just like, that's how I feel about him. He's just, it's a gift.
And I saw a great quote this weekend, I think, from him, which is so James McBride. Someone was asking him about writing and writers, and he basically said the best, stay off the internet, stay off of social media, talk to people, meet people in real life. You'll meet some great people, and then they'll come, they'll find their way into your book.
To our point about Goodreads and recommendations.
Plenty of characters out there.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Gabe, what do you got for us?
I've got something from Japan, a book that has taken the world by storm. What you are looking for is in the library, by Michiko Aoi. What do you do when you walk into your library and your librarian says, what are you looking for? So what we have here, it's a little similar to the Before the Coffee Gets Cold, where people come in and have an experience and are able to go back to a point in time, in the point of as long as it takes to drink a cup of coffee. In this case, it is a collection of people. A librarian, Sayuri Komachi, recommends books to people, and the books that we see in this book, the characters we see in the come through this book, is a collection of characters who are in pivotal points in their lives. We've got a young woman who's come over and who's come from a small town and gone to the junior college to try to better her life. We've got another retail worker who has just been humming along, but now wants something better out of his life. We've got Natsumi, 40 years old, is a former magazine editor who feels sidelined. And maternity leave, and is coming back from maternity leave and raising kids, and into the workplace, and she feels like she needs a hand up. So all these people are, as I said, a turning point in their lives, and they come to this library, and the librarian recommends books that ultimately alter and change their lives for the better. And it seems a little just like kind of a pat story, but it's a book that's done with you could tell that Aoyama is a book lover. It is that feeling of discovery of a book. Yes, there is the process that these people go through, but it brings back the world of community that we used to share. I remember when I used to go to the library a lot as a kid. Every week I was at the library. I got my stack of books, and I went home, and I came back the next week and swapped out the stack. And the librarians knew me. They didn't care what I checked out. They'd find stuff for me, and they'd look for stuff for me, and they were part of my weekly world. I saw these women every week. These same two librarians at the Malabar branch there in East LA. And so this community and then what community is and how it's achieved by participating in the community, and books help us participate within one another. Our recommendation of books goes beyond just librarians. We do this here. You do it in the bookstore. My sister is one of those old school book buyers who doesn't work in the book business. So she's like, goes to a bookstore with a girlfriend, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna buy this and you're gonna buy that, and then we're gonna swap later on. And what have you read? And it brings back all that. And then the discovery of book. I think for us, maybe have not happened through recommendations. A lot of us have been digging through stacks all our lives, and you find books, and sometimes you just read something that just blows your mind and moves you forward, or awakens your brain in a way that you've never, you have that intellectual explosion at a certain point in your life, or certain points in your life where you get something that so all that is brought about in this book. It's kind of hard to, it's not hard to explain. It's just sort of all the experiences that a book brings I Michiko Aoyama did a really great job bringing that to the reader, and how important books are and can be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're so right, but almost to the same point that James, like I was saying, going out there, talking to people, books, community, libraries, us, it's all, human connection is what we're all looking for.
And I remember coming every week, going to the library, leaving with this ridiculous stack of books. My mom said, "You can't read all those books," and she was right. I couldn't read all those books, but I was getting them anyway, and then I'd come back for another set.
But you could, and that's the whole beauty of it with the libraries, that you could, it was just like, oh my God, I can do this, and I can take all these home, and that was the fun part of it. But then there is something, Gabe, about discovering a book too, though, that maybe nobody's told you about, that you just happen to stumble upon at a bookstore. And like the galley piles that we give, I'll never forget stumbling on Idaho, which was an Emily, and it was just sitting in the back shelf. Nobody had been talking about it. It was like, oh my God, it ended up winning like a ton of, it was just like, okay, how did we miss that? That was such a good book.
It happens. There's a lot of good books out there.
You miss a lot of good books because there's too many good books out there. Okay, the book that I was going to tell you all about, hold on, let me get to the screen here. And I'm just going to briefly tell you about this because, honest to God, I know nothing about it. The only thing I know is that, so it's called Pesticide, and it's by Kim Hayes, and there's a second one in the series, and she's coming out with a third one in the series. And she lives in Bern with her husband. I think she's American. Takes place in Switzerland. Basically, this was the buzz of BoucherCon, and everybody was talking. The guy who runs one of the awards said that if there was an award for paperback original, this would win it. But because it's like only hardcover awards or whatever, he was all. And then I had other people that I respect in the thriller mystery world. They were like, "Oh, Julie, you got to read this." Like, okay. So, anyways, Pesticide, Kim Hayes. I think we sold out of this one. We have the second one in stock, but we'll be getting more of it. So that is on my list to read. Okay, Tom.
Okay. So also out tomorrow, Joe Poznanski's Why We Love Baseball, A History in 50 Moments. So his last book was a New York Times bestseller. It was called The Baseball 100. That was about the top 100 baseball players. And what I love about his books is that it's his opinion, all of it. He's well aware that you may disagree about the top 100 players. And he invites, argument and discussion, and the same is true here. This is his history in 50 moments, but it may not be your history of baseball in 50 moments. So I'm a huge baseball fan, and I would say a harsh critic of baseball books. They better be good, and this is really, really good. So he takes the 50 moments and counts them down. But each moment is, so there's some of them are familiar, like obviously some of them are big moments we either saw or we've heard about, but he takes different perspectives and unusual, unique ways of telling the story, including, from the umpire's perspective, the announcer, or the pitcher who made the pitch when whoever was hit, when Babe Ruth called it shot. Well, he didn't interview that pitcher, but Kirk Gibson's home run, famous Dodger moment. He talks to Eckersley, the pitcher, Willie Mays' catch. They're all here, but really well told. Joe Poznanski is really funny, really smart, really connected. He has a podcast called The Poscast, which with Mike Schur. So Mike Schur did Parks and Rec and The Good Place, also a huge baseball fan and a great friend of Poznanski's. They do this weekly podcast where it's hilarious, but it's all about baseball. In fact, Mike Schur contributed an essay in here about I think it's the top moment in Red Sox history, because he's a Red Sox fan. So whatever team you're a fan of, they're in. A moment is in here. It may not be the one you would select, but they're there.
Every team?
Well, maybe
the Padres. I'm not sure there's a Padres.
I would think I'll do some research as we go on. I bet the Padres are there, but you're right. Every team,
Yeah,
I don't know. But a lot. I mean,
we've been suffering Padre fans all our lives down here. So,
but you must have had a moment. I'll find out.
They made a series, right? They made a series, didn't they? Well, it's still one. They're in that book.
Maybe, yes. My daughter went to.
Got to be one. I'm going to come back to you on that.
Okay, but, I think that's your homework for the week.
Right. Well, and that's exactly what the book is about. Like you want to know, like, where are the Padres, or where's that moment? I'm a Cardinals fan, so I want to make sure that the moments I know are in there. Now, granted, the Cardinals are definitely in there.
Right.
Yeah. The Cardinals.
Yeah, because they're the Cardinals.
But it's really fun, really smart. It's going to be a great gift book. This is a fantastic gift book right through the holidays for you know someone who would love this book.
Yep.
So out tomorrow, Why We Love Baseball by Joe Posner.
And you're right. A baseball book has to be good.
Yeah.
It just has to be.
And there's so many, baseball and books go together. There's so many books that baseball is a great subject, but they gotta be good too.
Yeah. That's the thing about baseball is that there's so much more to it than it's just such a really interesting game if you really dig into it.
Well, and that's why the way he tells it, because there are so many on a single play, there are so many different perspectives. The fan, the announcer, the umpire, the pitcher, the hitter, the catcher.
And you see things now with live Twitter when you're watching some of this stuff on TV and you see something happening and the fans are going crazy. Baseball's interesting.
Well, and he also has interstitial moments, not just in between those 50 greatest moments, where it's about different baseball things, including the one I love is the knuckleball, because the knuckleball is a fascinating pitch. But the way he goes at it here is, I think it's either Phil or Joe Niekro who were two of the masters of the knuckleball. But after they retired, one of them, I think it was Phil, he coached Little League and he taught the pitch to a girl in the Little League. And it's about her perspective on him and the pitch as now she's grown older. And he passed away, I think, their interactions were not that long, but the pitch and what baseball and all that stays with her. So it's cool.
Very interesting. Very cool. All right, Kim, what you got next?
Okay, my next book I'm sorry, my next two books don't come out until early October. A lot of the books I've been reading, are way in advance, and
but pre-orders are okay. We like pre-orders.
Yes. But this book, oh my God!
Right?
This book is so incredibly extraordinary. I can't even tell you. Everyone has to read this book, and it would appeal both to fiction readers and nonfiction readers. Even my husband is going to read this book, and that is saying something. It's The Maniac by Chilean author Benjamin Labatt, whose previous book, When We Cease to Understand the World, was a Booker Prize and National Book Award finalist. And like that book, this is a historical novel that blends history, biography, and science. And it's not quite fiction and it's not quite fact. It reads like a thriller. It's told through different voices. And it centers on who's the man who's been called the 20th century's smartest man. Albert Einstein said, this guy's way smarter than me. John von Neumann, a Hungarian-American polymath, physicist, mathematician, etc., who worked on the Manhattan Project. He invented game theory and the first programmable computer. And he pioneered artificial intelligence, digital life, and even cellular automata. And he was definitely incredibly brilliant, but he terrified the people around him because he was kind of a maniac. He didn't care about people or the consequences of his work. And nothing would stop him from, pursuing whatever he wanted to, regardless of the potential consequences to humankind. And there are a lot of other people a lot of other physicists and groundbreaking, brilliant people in the book as well. And the book ends with AlphaGo, the AI program AlphaGo that beat the Korean Go master Lee Sedol. And this book is so fascinating, and I couldn't put it down. It's one of these books you have to read it, and it raises so many questions about where we're going with what we're doing in technology now, and AI especially. And it's kind of terrifying, but not completely at all. And Richard Feynman, the physicist, has a chapter in there that's quite lovely and uplifting and fun. It's actually hysterical. He worked on the Manhattan Project, of course, and he talks about how much fun they had. It was like summer camp. This book was just extraordinary. I swear to God, your IQ is gonna go up while you read it. And I can't recommend this highly enough to everyone. And it's not a hard read. It's not like overly,
And I think, and Kim, I think you described it perfectly. And I hope that people take a chance to read it, because I think that the subject matter sounds daunting.
Yeah.
You're talking about these, these extremely intelligent scientists and this AI and all of this stuff, but it's like, it is so consumable.
Yeah, it reads like the best thriller, and it's his children, his wife, they're all part of the book, and they all have chapters
because they're all humans. They're all humans, so it's not just their their brains that are.
It's not at all like it's not like a deep dive into the technical at all.
Right.
It's
but you get enough of it.
It's page turner. It's not a slog. It's the opposite of a slog.
I totally agree.
And that's what, because John Hughes, who's read it too, he's like, and he and his friends are like, von Neumann is like, they know all about him and they know all this stuff. And so it's like, it holds up for people like that.
Yeah.
And for somebody like me, who has no idea who Van Neumann was before I picked up this book. Yeah. So I had no idea. So it holds up on both fronts, which I think is fascinating.
That's really good. Good to hear.
Yes. Yeah, and every Oppenheimer's been such a popular movie, and I've had people come in. Do you have any books about Oppenheimer? A lot of men have been coming in asking for that, and I keep telling them about this book, and I say it's fiction, but it's not fiction,
right?
I move over Oppenheimer. Yeah, I mean, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Right.
I mean, this guy was incredible.
But it's like Oppenheimer set the stage in my mind for this book. Yeah. In a way that many readers are going to be looking for it.
And more, absolutely. Because Beth Johnson's on here was saying that, she would have avoided it, but now is excited to read it because it really is. Yeah. I really am afraid that some people are, because they're going to look at what the title, it's just like, no.
It's super, this has got to be a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the well, you did a brilliant job. I'm sure I'll be talking about it again in a few weeks.
Good. I'm sure you'll do a much better job.
No, you did a great job.
But it's the AI piece of it too was brilliant of him to include. Like, he takes you, and I read it like in February when AI was not on the tip of everyone's tongue. It was just before that, and I read it and I was like, oh, this is truly terrifying. I hope
Yeah.
it doesn't come too soon. And then a few months later, the genie's out of the, out of the box.
It's exactly my experience. I read it a little bit later than that, and but not much. But before, Chat GPT and all that, right before they came on the scene, and then they came on the scene, and I was like, oh dear God. But the book, I think it's just so good.
It's so good. Yeah.
And you get a deep dive into the Korean chess masters.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, but and that might scare people off too, but it's just like, no. Just
no.
Just stay with it. Yeah.
So interesting.
So interesting.
Yeah, don't be intimidated.
No. Okay, Gabe. What's your next one?
Bring you something. We're seeing a lot of these things, these retellings.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Greek mythology.
You can't get enough of them.
Seems that way. It seems that way. So here's another one. So this is This is a retelling of the Hercules story, and it is actually like an oral biography. It is told by the women, his mother, his first friend, Hylas, who was probably more than just a friend. It's a queer retelling, a feminist queer retelling of the Hercules myth by Fernisha Rogerson. Reviews have, some reviews have been tough, but the average reader is loving this book. It's pubbed in the UK. It's in a few markets. It's in a few territories out there. But it is just that. It's a nice, big, satisfying, fun retelling of the myth, the atrocities, by stories told by his victims. There's some atrocities committed, and he's given the 7 labors that he's got to fulfill as punishment. We see all that, and we see Hercules through the eyes of everybody that's around him, that it's existed around him. So it's not necessarily such a pretty sight, but an unusual telling. The language is she doesn't pretend. She's very contemporary with her language use, which sometimes people find a little jarring, but it's English anyways. So there's a little vernacular in here that makes it sound a little, maybe a little casual to some readers. That's been one of the critiques of the book. I don't mind that. I think a lot of the readers don't mind that,
especially in the retellings. I don't think people mind it as much. Yeah.
And like I said, it's a little dark, darker than you would think, but there's a lot of humor in this as well. So, like I said, the reads have been really terrific from all over the place, and loving what they're seeing. We've got a great package. It looks great on the table. I'm sure you're going to sell a bunch.
I love the package. It's a really good, great cover.
Big, satisfying hardback read.
Yep, good cover. And people can't get enough of the retellings. So that's just, it's a good, and there's lots of them to be done. There's lots of retellings to do.
Apparently.
But okay, this is the last one I'm going to talk about. Because I'm going to do it super quick, because I'll start the lightning round for us all, because I haven't read this yet, but talking about books that it's just like, I don't know where or why I saw this one, but The Witching Tide, it's out tomorrow. It's a really good cover.
Great cover and a great title too.
It's a really good cover. It says it's for readers of Margaret Atwood and Hilary Mantel. An immersive literary debut inspired by historical events, a deadly witch hunt in 17th century England, sign me up, that claimed many innocent lives. So it's from Scribner. So I'm doing Shannon's job here today.
Yeah, you are. Another Simon Schuster.
Another Simon & Schuster title. Sorry about that. Well, the first one I think was, no, that one was.
I think it was. I looked it up.
Is that? Oh, I think it's an imprint of there. I think it's a client.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a client. The Kim Hayes.
Oh, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's a client.
I think it's a client, but I don't know. I could be wrong about that. Anyways, sorry about that, guys. It just happens to me. But anyways, this has everything. This is like my catnip. These witchy stories, and that's why I love my Alice Hoffman. That's why I love all of this. So anyways, looking forward to digging into that one. So if you read it, let me know what you think. Okay, Tom.
The Kim Hayes says 7th Street book, so I think you're right. It's I don't know what 7th Street.
I think it's a client. I don't know if it's an imprint, but I don't know.
And also I did check out the Poznanski and look for the Padres. I had forgotten. He does at the end of the book give 50 moments for every team, at least one moment for every team. So they are all represented.
I love it.
And the Padres, the little thing ranges from the San Diego Chicken, which I'd forgotten about,
Oh yeah.
to Trevor Hoffman, and of course Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn. Oh yeah, Tony Gwynn. The
Yeah.
freaking chicken. That's what we're known for. Jesus, for baseball. Somebody. We need Tom, please talk about another book right now.
Okay. My lightning round is this is a very bad print of this, because this book is embargoed until tomorrow. The Last Politician by Franklin Foer, Inside Joe Biden's White House and the Struggle for America's Future. So Franklin Foer is a writer for the Atlantic, and it's not like he was embedded or whatever in the White House for the first 2 years of the Biden presidency, but he had very exclusive access to a lot of the team around Biden. And so it's a gripping portrait of the first 2 years, from the transition through the midterms. And I try, and it's so it's like a fly on the wall during the discussion, and then the withdrawal from Afghanistan, the invasion of Ukraine, and the US response. And because it's, because I trust Penguin, I haven't read it because we're not allowed to read these things in advance. And so I'm curious, but I trust that it's a very fair portrait of what was going on in the Biden White House. And I think my sense is that it gives there's already some, I wouldn't call them bombshells, but there's news breaks that I've seen, but it just gives a fuller portrait of the man. Not, it's not, to me anyway, it's not like a hit piece or anything on Biden at all. It just gives you a portrait of what's going on in the White House and has been going on in the White House. So yeah, that's it. We'll see what comes of it. We don't know. This is the first I've seen of a Biden book. We had lots of Trump books.
We had lots of Trump books.
And I'm sure we'll get more, but for now, actually, I think I've already seen that there are more coming. But anyway, in the meantime, if you want
more Trump books?
I think so. Yeah, right.
Please.
I don't know, but let's not focus on that. Let's focus on a Joe Biden book. And The Last Politician is an interesting, because it's about how he came after Trump, and Biden obviously is from the political world pre-Trump, and so he's trying to reestablish some of the norms that Trump, didn't follow, refused to follow. Anyway, if you're interested in current events and really want to know what's going on, this is something that you'll want to see.
But you're right. We haven't seen. He's almost he's in his third. We're halfway through his third year.
Yeah.
And we have not seen a bunch of books.
Right. Well, and the good news, again, I haven't read it, but my sense it's not an administration where you're going to get bombshells. That was true of the Trump. Every Trump book was filled with bombshells.
Right.
That's not what the Biden presidency is about. It's about the less you have to think about Joe Biden, the better. The better. So it's the first time you're taken inside the White House because of that.
Interesting. I'll be curious to see how it lands. It's going to be interesting to watch. It's going to be interesting to watch this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, Kim, what's your lightning round?
Okay, can I do 2 really fast?
Really fast, yeah. And I want you all to be impressed that I've been able to do tech today. Okay, I just want to throw that out there again for another pat on my back.
Yeah. Okay. I just found one that comes out this month, so I want to do that one too.
All right.
My first one is the Goodbye Cat by Hiro Arakawa, who wrote one of my absolute favorite all-time books, The Traveling Cat Chronicles, which was a huge bestseller at Warwick's and internationally. And this book was already published in Japan. It's a huge hit. And I would describe it as quirky and life enhancing, and a really good read for after the Maniac. It's actually 7 short stories, each one featuring a cat. And the first one, for example, a little kitten was rescued from a recycling bin and ends up teaching a new father how to parent his child, and help become the father that his wife needs him to be. And I read that in the very first one, and I cried and cried and cried and cried. It is just, it's one of those books, just like the Traveling Cat Chronicles. They're like happy tears. But it's just a heart, just, oh, like, gotta read it. Empathy, love, it's just beautiful. Every story is just beautiful. And then my next one, completely different. This one comes out this month, and it's The League of Lady Poisoners, illustrated true stories of dangerous women. And Mallory and I both requested a copy of this, and it's it features I think 25 women throughout history who were poisoners and who obviously got caught, and they're quite diverse. And this is a great book for true crime people, which I am not, but they are true. And some of them you root for, and some are just pure evil. And it's really fun. And then it also has information about the poisons if you want to try it yourself. And it's illustrated throughout. It's got wonderful, really pretty illustrations, and it's just fascinating. Really, really, really fun gift book. And it's got pictures of all of these women and their stories, and it's fascinating. And it's beautiful. It's a nice book to put out when your friends come over, get them nervous.
I think the funniest thing you said in this whole thing, it's quite diverse.
It is.
Well, these are from all walks of life.
Oh, these are from all walks of life, baby.
They're from all different countries, all different centuries, and all different walks of life, for sure.
I love it. Boys, it doesn't have any. Yeah, oh, I love it.
There's no boundaries.
It is. Who knew?
Who knew?
So anyway, The League of Lady Poisoners, totally fun book.
All right. And I might tell everybody before we get to you, Gabe, just before we go off, since Amanda's not here, we haven't been sending out the e-blast with the picks. So she's going to try and do a compilation. But if you forget something, you always go back to the Facebook page and see what all the picks are each week. So Amanda, when she gets back, I'll do a compilation of everything. So, all right, Gabe, take us home.
Well, since Kim did 2 books.
Ooh, Tom might have Tom. I don't know.
Well, Tom lost out, man. Had a shot. He blew it. Of Things Gone Astray is still in print and still available from Harper.
What a great cover.
So it's a great little book. We were talking about it last week.
Okay, I must have. You know what though, Gabe? I looked at it a couple years ago, and that might have been why.
We since it's one of those imports, I just discovered a thing that we do. I had a call from one of my accounts. They were looking for a particular book that's from the UK, this imprint, and it's like ordered to be. I don't know how exactly it's worded, but the account has to order it. And then it triggers something in our system that triggers something in the UK that gets the UK to pack the book, put it on a slow boat to New York, get it through customs, it gets to the warehouse. And
how do we get Ingram to get it back in stock?
That would have to be a thing for Ingram.
All right. But we can get this though, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, it's available at Harper.
Okay.
Harper in 3-4 days these days. So
okay. All right.
But yeah, maybe I'll talk to somebody about Ingram. Anyways,
yeah.
I had to talk about it because it's one of my little favorite books of all time.
Honest to God, it is. Everybody, it's one of those, again, the Maniac. This is one of those books that everybody just needs to read. I mean, this was one of our best book club discussions that I had with my personal book club was about this book.
This book surprised me. It moved me. I kept me turning the pages.
Oh.
I just thought it was a really lovely first novel.
Agree.
But the book I'm going to talk about is Mother-Daughter Murder Night.
Oh,
by
this
Nina
one looks really
Stein.
good too.
A lot of murdering women, man.
I love it.
So this
Mothers
is
and
actually
daughters.
a 3 generations of sleuths, a daughter, a mother, and a grandmother. It is smart and funny and pacey. It is a Reese pick, I think. It is the next pick. It's getting a lot of attention. Got a really good Kirkus. So we were just talking about Kirkus doesn't like anything, but Kirkus liked this one. So it's just, it's one of these books that you can cry if you like suspense, if you like it's not that light necessarily, but a quick paced fun read that sucks you in. It's a little bit on the light side. It gives you some chuckles and entertains the heck out of you. This is one of those fun reads. I kind of the Richard Osman books, the
Thursday Murder Club.
Though this I thought a little more pacey and a little more fun than those. Not a huge fan of the Osman books.
What?
They're good.
Okay, we're gonna have a duke it out here.
I think my expectations were really high because I really like him I see him on Graham Norton all the time and on the UK shows. But
Can we get back?
And we like I said, great package. The Reese Witherspoon announced it. I think it's the Reese Book Club. So it's going to get a lot of attention. It's getting a lot of attention. Great airplane book, great book to just knock off. Good gift. This will get you through the weekend very nicely.
I'm totally gonna read that. That's like so up my alley. It reminds me a little bit of the Spellman Files.
Yeah, Spellman Files.
Oh yeah.
A little bit, and the family thing. And okay, the Thursday Murder Club mysteries books are like so good. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
like
Thank you, Ken.
over the top
Everyone loves them.
fantastic. I mean, one of my all-time absolute favorite mystery series, and that's saying a lot.
What's her name at the store too? Madeline loves the Thursday Murder, but I think we need to get her. We need to get this into her hands, the Mother-Daughter Murder Night, because I think this will be right up her alley too.
Yeah.
And Beth got an arc for that.
And
All right, everybody.
And the next Thursday Murder Club is just around the corner.
I know. I have an arc. I can't wait.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, Tom, Gabe, thank you for coming on Labor Day. I really appreciate it.
Professionals, we're your professionals.
I know. I love it. Well, the store had, and the store had to work today. So I feel like it's like if the store's got to work, then,
But thank you for coming out of a sick bed, both of you.
Right.
I literally am going to go upstairs and get
Crawl
back on
back
the
up the
couch.
stairs.
I'm going to crawl back
Same.
upstairs.
Same.
I'm sure you saw, I was literally pouring sweat. I mean, it was even like dripping down my face.
You put in a full day's work in this hour. So.
I did. I think my whole body feels like it. Anyways, thanks. Some really good suggestions this week. I mean, some really fun stuff. I'm so excited the fall's coming because it's just the fall.
Yeah.
The fall is
Fall
so
line,
fun.
that's incredible.
There's so many good books. There's so many good books. So happy reading, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Labor Day, and we'll see you next week. And Amanda will be back. Hopefully she'll be out of.
Hopefully she's back. Hopefully she's safe.
Yeah, because I'm a little
Be out of
worried
the
about that.
mud.
Oh no. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.